V'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. La'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah. La'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah. Okay. Orlando, would you check and see, please, if they can turn that down a bit more? Okay, thank you. I won't move. I moved! Ah! Okay. So, first of all, I want to dedicate tonight's teaching for the ascension of the soul of Charlie Kirk, because whether you agree with him or disagree with him is inconsequential. No one should be killed for saying their truth or for their voice. So we want to hope his soul ascends easily. And a warning to everyone. It's just a warning. If you think we as Jews are not going to be blamed for Charlie Kirk's death, you're not paying attention.
We already are.
Is it already happening? Yeah, because I'm waiting to start hearing Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson say, but, can we just explore that maybe the shooter was an agent from Assad?
No, but it's more like right now, he's anti-Semitic. And it's like, really? It started.
And supposedly Tucker Carlson was going to be the keynote speaker at TPUSA again. So we'll see what happens with the whole thing. They're all very much in shock. Bryce Eddy, who's a friend of the temple, and is on the board of TPUSA. Bryce, for those of you who don't know, Bryce's daughter has been the one, they just moved, so she's not going to be the one this year, but it's been the daughter who plays Kol Nidre on the violin. Kol Nidre. She's really, really fabulous. How can you guys don't have cigars? And thank you to Barry for the cigars. I think we have too many, so you're either taking them home or you can have some anyhow.
I have one.
Well, here, have two. Be a double. We'll keep it on this side. This is the smoking side.
Yeah, we're going to smoke all of those.
Stan's a transgressor. He crosses boundaries.
That's better than a transgressor.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I just want to really be clear on that. Because expect it will happen. Cheshbon HaNefesh. Cheshbon HaNefesh literally means an accounting. Cheshbon HaNefesh of the soul. It is a process that ideally we would do every day or at least every week. Most of us really don't do it. Hopefully we do it before Rosh Hashanah during this month of Elul. In the month of Elul, it stands for Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. I am my beloved's and my beloved is mine. This is a month of intimacy with God. It is our belief that God walks among us in the fields at this point of the year, seeing how we treat each other. And Cheshbon HaNefesh is an accounting. So how many of you have a checkbook?
What?
Checkbook. And how many of you balance your bank accounts or your credit card statements or balance things on a regular or semi-regular basis?
No.
I to.
Or your companies does their accounting every year, right? Why don't we take an accounting of our soul? And that's what we need to do and to understand how to do it. Great shirt. I haven't noticed that. It's to know how to do it. And so we have this process. It is based, as is most things in Judaism, on the four-letter name of God, the Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey, and also on the Kutz, the hidden fifth part of the Yud. The Kutz of the Yud is the infinitesimally small point at the top. It's the place where, if you think of the Sistine Chapel, where God and Adam are touching, are they touching or are they not touching? That space right there, called the Kutz of the Yud. So there's always in everything 4 plus 1. We talked about that before. At Passover, there's 4 cups of wine plus Elijah's cup. There's 4 questions plus the original question, why is this night different from all the nights? There's 4 suns, but there's a blank space for a 5th sun that's hidden. There is, our service is based upon the 4 letters. There's 4 parts to the morning service. And then 3 days a week, we get the Torah service. So that's the hidden 5th. That's a model. And so that's the model we use as well. Who wants to start reading from the first part of the top paragraph? Someone, let's go. Who wants to read the first page? Let's go.
There is a Hasidic story about a hurricane lamp. Grandfather gave the grandson a blackened hurricane lamp during the month of Elul.
Everyone knows what a hurricane lamp is?
Yeah.
That's that lamp where there's oil here, and then the wick comes up here, and there's a flame, and there's a glass that goes on top. Okay?
The month before Rosh Hashanah. It was so black that when lit, you could not see any part of the flame or light. He asked he asked his grandson to clean it for him, so that it could be used for the upcoming holidays.
Bless
Okay,
you.
the
Bless
boy, God bless you. The boy used everything he could to clean the lamp, scrubbing and trying to polish it from the outside, but could not get the black off the glass off the glass out. He came with tears. Oh, hold on, this is better. He came with tears to his grandfather, saying, "I'm okay. I think I'm okay. That it was impossible, and unfortunately, the lamp was unusable." The grandfather took the lamp and removed the glass. He then took a soft rag and started to clean the glass from the inside, slowly, one part at a time. He cleaned the entire glass and then set it back on the lamp. He lit the lamp, which again shone brightly, as it had when it was new. He explained to his grandson that the dirt, soot, and darkness was not from the outside, but from the inside of the glass. With regular use, the glass had built up carbon and darkness on its inside, and it could only become clean when it was clean from the inside. The same is true for our soul. All year, the light that is an expression of who we really are is dimmed and darkened through our daily interactions in the world, with ourselves, with others, and with God. Each time we do something that is not quite true or in harmony with the righteous nature of our soul, a bit more darkness is built up on the inside of the glass. And by the end of the year, it is all too easy to see that we no longer are shining our light, no longer living in an expression of our highest self because of the darkness that we've created within. Chesh, Chesh,
Heshbon
yeah,
HaNefesh.
is the process, that's his process, usually done during the month of Elul, although it can be, and it can, and ideally should be done throughout the entire year, where we take honest accounting of our souls and start to clean the glass. That is our lantern. Before we can truly act, as we do during the 10 days of awe, and make teshuva with others, with ourselves, and with God, which we do on Yom Kippur. We must take a full and true accounting of all aspects of our soul's manifestation in this life.
Okay, so the idea is that the schmutz comes from the inside out, not from the outside in. Every year, people come up to me after Rosh Hashanah, after Yom Kippur, during Sukkot. Rabbi, those are this amazing spiritual high holiday services. I'm going to get really involved in the temple this year. I'm going to see you on Shabbats. I'm going to see you. And it's just so, I'm so glad to get back in touch with my Judaism. And you know when I say you see them next? Next Rosh Hashanah. Okay? Now, in the moment, are they paying lip service? No. They believe what they are saying. Because in those days, their insides get clean. But very quickly, we function in this physical world where we have bills, and we have tsuris, and we have arguments, and we have assassinations, and we have fights, and we have all this different stuff. And so, from our insides, we're not focused, and so we lose track, and it gets dirty on the inside. And the high holidays is to say, okay, we want to really feel that light both going in and coming out, and we need to clean ourselves. We need to see where is it dirty. And if you say it's not dirty, that you haven't done anything, then I would suggest that two of the places that you need to clean are arrogance and falsehood. Okay?
And illusion.
An illusion. Or delusion.
Delusion.
Delusion and delusion. So, how does Judaism, Judaism has all these techniques for everything, right? We have technologies for everything. There's nothing that you could think of. It doesn't matter how esoteric or how practical it is, there is something in Judaism that tells us how to do things. It doesn't matter if it's about marital relations, it doesn't matter if it's about business practices, it doesn't matter about anything. Dreams, anything. We have a technique and technology as well for a methodology to do how to do an accounting. Who does do an accounting for your company or your own home? Okay. So when you do an accounting, okay, you for yourself and for your company, right? You make sure you know what your assets are, you know what your liabilities are, you know what your debts are, you know what the accounts receivable are, right? And you get really honest. You know what your projections are. You know your projections are here, and you're hoping to get here, but you know this is a realistic projection, right? So you know all those things, and you get very honest so that your company can build, right? So your company's been around how many years, thank God?
44.
It's great because you're only 27, so
Right,
that's
exactly.
really impressive.
Very impressive.
And you started when you were 3, okay, right?
Before I was born.
Before you were born. So,
14.
so you know that this is how you build a business, right? This is how you build, right? This is how you build your practice, right? This is how we do whatever we do. This is how we do. It doesn't matter the business or the lifestyle. You need to know your assets, your liability. You have a formula, right? And then you get an accountant who says you forgot about this in your formula, right? He says you forgot about taxes, you forgot about shipping. Or you get a financial planner who says, that's great, but your projection is up here, but really it should be here. And if you exceed your projection, great, but don't count on it being over this. Better to under-promise and over-deliver than over-promise and under-deliver, right? These are all things, we're all adults, these are all things that you deal with in business, right? Same thing with our souls, but we don't do it. So Judaism is a methodology, and the methodology is this. It says on that day, God will be one and God's name will be one. It's from the book of Zechariah. We taught Zechariah is a reincarnation of Moses' soul. And this is what it means, the name being one. Okay? Stan, can I borrow you to be God for a moment?
Yeah. He looks like that.
I do?
Well,
he is. Yeah, you're going to have to get up.
God has to arise.
If I'm God, I could call the.
Just get over it.
All right.
Remember, the Jews call God and tell him what to do too. Okay. Step back. This is the name of God. These are the 4 letters of God's name. When placed vertically, you can see it looks like a human being. Here's the Yud. Here's the He. The torso is the Vav. And the bottom half is the second. Okay? Thank you, God. Sit down. I'm so happy he didn't ask for a sacrifice or an offering.
I want the lamb.
He wants. I'm so glad he wanted the lamb and not the 72 virgins. Oh wait, that's a different tradition. Never mind.
I'm
So
afraid of that one.
who would want all that headache? So this is what we use, and each of these letters has a significance, and so we go through each of these significances, and we examine ourselves. Now, this is just the methodology. You've got to do this yourself. It's up to you. All I can do is teach things. It's up to each person if you want to act it out. You can think about it, or you can actually take the time and have a notebook and a paper and really write it out, right? I mean, some of us do our checking accounts in our head, right? And so we may be off a little bit, but not that much. Other people are very precise and they do it to the penny. My grandmother, God rest her soul, her checking account was balanced to the penny every year for 100 years. It was. So this is the methodology. Who wants to continue on page 3?
Sure.
Loudly.
The followings are gleanings taken from Sefer Bahir and Sefer Yetzirah, Hasidic practices, and integrated into modern practices of Heshbon Banefesh. There are 4 parts with a hidden 5th, the name of God. Similarly, there are 4 parts, expressions of the human soul, along with a hidden 5th. This also corresponds to the 4 directions, north, south, west, and east, and the hidden 5th of the center. The analogy is a wheel, with cardinal directions, each having a specific meaning. It is important to...
Does that make sense to everyone? Think of a circle. Okay, the native word they call it medicine, but think of a circle, right? And there's the north, there's the south, there's the east, there's the west, there's the center. Okay, that's a wheel. Okay?
It is important to become balanced in this wheel and to do an accounting in each area. I, along with other modern scholars, have...
So what does that mean? If you're overinflated on one side or underinflated on one side, it's not going to roll like a tire. It's going to go plump, plump, plump. want to be balanced. Okay. Go ahead, please.
Modern scholars have introduced the idea of a sixth place to look at because of the circumstances of modern times, which also allows us to parallel the waving of the four species. There are those modern sages who actually place 7 directions corresponding to north, south, east, west, center, above, and below. The concept is to look at each direction, each letter of God's name, and see where we have been out of balance. This is not the process of Teshuvah.
Do you guys get that? Yes. So Tshuva is fixing our mistakes. Tshuva is fixing the wheel. Tshuva is getting balance. This is the accounting that happens beforehand, right? So you have your business, your home, and your CPA says, okay, before we can make a financial plan for you, and so you can have what you want, first we're going to be very clear, where are you right now? It's true in every aspect of life. If someone comes to a trainer and says, I want to bench press 300 pounds, the first question is going to be, okay, what do you bench press now? And hopefully the person's going to be honest, because if they lie, that's going to be problem. If they say, well, I bench press 220, and they can barely press 100 pounds, they're never going to get to 300, are they? They got to be honest in order to grow from where you are. Okay, please continue.
It is simply the honest accounting that needs to be done in order to begin that sacred process. Each of the 4 directions corresponds to a letter, with the center corresponding to the kutz of the yod, which represents the center. As it says in Sefer Bakir 122, the righteous foundation of the world is found in the center. The other directions correspond to physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental, going up each letter from the bottom of God's name.
Okay, so the hay is physical. Does that make sense? Going all the way to spiritual. Okay, go ahead.
The center is generally considered sexual as well as creative, and many of us have added financial as a form of a bridge, since it is often our financial expressions that we see how we manifest our true priorities, be it financial of actual dollars or time, which equates to the same. In modern times,
loudly because the music's loud though too.
Sure. In modern times, this would equate to the Kaddish that is said, bridging each letter together. In ancient times, it was considered part of the bottom hay in the world of Sia.
So the Kaddish, have you guys ever noticed the high holidays? It seems like every 10 minutes we're doing a Kaddish. Okay? I wondered why. It's because the structure of the service, if we go back to this Adi Gaon, let's go back. Let me backtrack to the structure of a service, both regular morning service but also high holidays. There was this service going on in the temple, right? And they knew what to do. And there were sacrifices, and there's all this, hoopla going on. And the temple is destroyed and maybe rebuilt. And then we go through this crisis. How do we worship without the temple? And it takes between 600 and 900 years before we really have what's called the Siddur. Okay, the Siddur means order, just like Seder means order of the prayer service. So what happens is the sages start to, especially in the Arabian Peninsula, they start to reverse engineer what the service in the temple did to people's neurophysiology, what it did to their spirit, what it did to their soul, what it did to their way of being. And they reverse engineered it to recreate a service that, if you really understand the service and you really let it go through you, would affect people the same way as if they went to the temple, heard the Levites blowing their horns, and saw sacrifices going on in the whole thing. Okay? That is codified by the 8th, 9th century. Okay, with Sadi Gaon, Hai Gaon, these different sages. And that Siddur is basically what we use today. It is almost unchanged. And it's based on this 4-letter name. Okay? So that's our liturgy. That's where the structure of the service comes from. Yeah.
This also corresponds.
Loudly.
Does this also correspond to the 5 levels of your neshama?
Yeah.
And to having in the Yom Kippur service the 5 levels until you
Yes.
get to.
Yes.
Thank you.
All think of a wheel being on top of a wheel on top of being a wheel on top of being a wheel on top of. And what it actually ends up creating is this. It actually creates an image that, if you lay it all together and you do it all, it actually creates more like an hourglass image than just laying on top. But It's all based on, it's all the same thing. That's why I said that the four-letter name is the key to understanding Judaism. So in the service, you have these four letters, but nothing is like, okay, I'm here, and now I'm here, right? And now I'm in this part. There's always transition. That transition is the Kaddish. That's why we're saying Kaddish in between each of the sections. So it's a transitionary prayer, because the Kaddish is not a prayer for the dead, although we say it for the dead. It is not a prayer for studying, although we say it when we study. It's not a prayer for our teachers, although we say it for our teachers, Kaddish Rabbanan. It's not a prayer for in our just to put us in a heightened space, although it does that too. The Kaddish is not in Hebrew; it's in Aramaic. Number one. Number two, the grammar is binyan hipa'el. It's a specific type of grammar that's self-reflexive. So the word gadol, G-D-L, means big or large. Yit gadal means he or it made itself bigger. Kadosh means holy. Yit kadash means he or it made itself holier. Halal means praise. Yit halal means it praised itself. He or it praised itself. Yit romam, to uplift, to push up. He or it uplifted itself. Make sense? So the idea is we've done this section. Now we have this section, and we realize that this section is pushing us upward, pushing us up into the next section. Does that make sense? That's why we have Kaddish seemingly in the high holidays every 5 minutes, because I'm going to finish by 1 o'clock. Okay? I am very, you guys, because I believe one of the most offensive things at Rosh Hashanah services is the rabbi will go until the rabbi's done. And people have lunch plans. Okay? I'm sorry, but they do. And so I want to finish. I may finish 10 before 1, I may finish 10 after 1, but it's right. I'm right in that.
Jerusalem Standard Time.
I'm right in that movement. Someone once said about who was it? It was one of the rabbis who wrote one of the mock stories. Amor Silverman, who wrote a mock story back in the 50s. You remember the Silverman mock story? I mean, you might remember. Okay, that when he led high holiday services, Rich Perlin said this thing. It was like watching an accordion player. He could make it longer, he could make it shorter, because he knew the service so well. That's the rabbi's job. So the Kaddish, though, even when we have a short section, we only have one prayer from one of the sections, but then you have a Kaddish to transition on. That's why we have the Kaddish seemingly every 10 minutes. I'm sorry I interrupted. Please go ahead.
This is the time to do an honest accounting, not to pat oneself on the back. Yes, we have all done good things, just as the lantern is lit, but where have you created darkness? This is a process about being very honest with oneself and determining to clean the glass thoroughly, not to look at how clean it is in most places, but to clean the dark spots. If you wonder whether it is something that you have darkened, Jewish texts and teachings are clear with correct behaviors, practices, and teachings about how we should act in any circumstance, not how we should not act.
Okay, so if you're not sure, did I do something wrong? There are texts that will tell you whether you did or not. Okay? All right, who wants to continue with the bottom hay? This is the lower part of the body. It's the last hay of God's name, Yod Hey Vav Hey. Who wants to read? Someone on this side. This side, sir. We're alternate sides. I'll say Kaddish. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, doesn't the cancer kind of run the show when it comes to more or less? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Where's the cancer run?
I mean, sometimes I felt like it's because I've been to a lot of services. So sometimes it seems like the cantor in some places is running it.
Okay. The cantor is the voice of the community. Okay? So the cantor is running. He is speaking for the community.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
The outline of the services, he does what he's told. Okay.
No, I believe that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I know that.
But yeah, he is moving things along. He is the voice of the community. By the way, just so you know how true that is, this is I don't know why I want to toss this in, but it feels like it wants to be tossed in, so why not? Can a cantor or a rabbi or a pastor sue a temple or a church if he is fired from his job for no reason? How many of you say yes?
I say yes.
Even if he has a contract, he has a contract that says he's got a 5-year contract, and that's the second year, and the canner, they said we don't like him
In
anymore.
the state of California.
Federal. It doesn't matter even the California state of California.
Well, I know somebody who did. So
Yeah, so do I.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I'd say yes.
How many say no? The answer is no.
What?
Then how-
Because the lawyer for the temple was an idiot. That's why. Because federal law is that there's the establishment clause, because specifically, and this has been validated for 200 years in our legal system, our framers understood that churches existed before and after the state. Okay? And that a clergyman is someone who is the voice of that clergy. Specifically the cantor, that's literally what he is. So suddenly you got a cantor, but now the cantor's lost his voice.
Wait, the cantor or the head, the rabbi?
It's any clergy. Any clergy. Okay? So there's a local temple. They hired a rabbi. They realized within a year it was a stupid idea. They brought him down from the Bay Area. And they kept him around for 3 years because they didn't want to lose the money of firing him or paying him a release. They didn't have to. They just had a board that was stupid and didn't know the law. Okay? We were once sued by someone who was clergy. Okay? Very early on, we had a cantor who we said, we didn't have a contract with him. And after we said, you know what? It really doesn't work. It just doesn't, this doesn't work for a slew of reasons. And he sued us. And it was thrown out. Based on this. We have the temple lawyer is one of the premier religious rights. He was already before the Supreme Court multiple times. He's one of the premier religious rights lawyers in the country, a guy named Bob Tyler. He represents 1,400 churches and a synagogue.
How much did it cost you?
A lot less than it could have. Okay?
Sounds like there should be a joke in
There probably is, but I'm not a funny guy. So
Very
funny. Not funny to look at. Just, so the point is that the cantor is the voice of the community. You are 100% right with that. But that's only because the community doesn't necessarily know enough to sing with him. Okay? If you went to an Orthodox shul, whoever's leading the service, everyone's doing it with him, if they know the prayer. Many people are. Okay, makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay? All right, where were we? Oh, the bottom hay. Who's going to read about the bottom hay? Okay, go loudly here.
Bottom hay, the physical world of Zion, making how we interact with the world. Rest our legs in the Barak Shorah of the leaf.
Your top question, Laura. Why don't you? I'm going to ask. Why don't you turn that way so they can hear you? Because otherwise, the people online will never hear you.
Good morning, blessings. How do we walk through the world? Have you been conscious of where you have stepped? Have you created or destroyed in the physical world? Hay is the letter of God. This is placed in humans. The hay changes Avram's name to Abraham after the bridge.
Does that ever make sense? Right? Avram's name is Avram. He makes the covenant with God. God makes the covenant with him, the Brit Milah, and now his name becomes Abraham. Sarai becomes Sarah. Hay is the fifth letter. It's the hand of God that's reaching down. Okay, please continue.
What have you done to darken God's presence in the physical world? Have you given and been charitable when you could be and were asked? Have you looked the other way and refused to give charity? Remembering that we are commanded by God to tithe 10% off the top of our income to God's house.
I want to just toss something with this. A man named Adam Lippman. He's actually our CPA, and most of his clients are Orthodox Jews, and he's written a book that's finally going to come out this year, God willing. So it says in the Talmud, you can't test God. You can't go testing around God. God, if you're really there, make me fly. You can't do that. Except in one occasion, which is this: tithing 10% of your gross to the house of worship. So what Adam started doing years ago, to all his clients, he said, what do you anticipate you're going to make this? Your gross is going to be this year. So let's say they said $100,000. So great, we're going to put $10,000 in an account, in an escrow account right now. At the end of the year, if you've made more than $100,000, you're going to add to it. If you make less than $100,000, we're going to take out of that account to make you whole. 100% of his clients made more money than had been projected. Every one of them had to give money back, or had to give more money to the escrow account. So one thing you can test God on. So why we say during the high holidays, we say, everything's written in a book of life. It's written how much we're going to make. Period. So if you're giving your 10%, not more than 10, remember, more than a third, you become one of the righteous upon whom the destruction of the world rests. But if you give your 10%, then you can test it and see. And isn't that interesting? And so he's got this book that's going to come out because he actually has tested it with, he's got 40 clients, 50 clients, and he's been doing this 10 years. Not once has anyone had to take money out of the escrow. Without exception, they gave more money in. They made more than they had projected. No one could argue and say, well, that's because they all projected really low, but I don't think that's the case. Okay. Is that what you're thinking? Right, they thought they were going to make 100, so they said, "Well, I'm going to make 20. Here's 2."
Well, same thing. You tell the IRS that too, so that your quarterlies are well worth. You make it up at the end of the year because they don't give you interest.
This is it's really interesting. Please continue. Who's going to go?
When you have seen someone asking for change on the street corner, did you stop, or did you let that opportunity of charity go away and do nothing? Do you leave a mess behind you, or do flowers blossom where you walk because of the righteous and good deeds that you have done? How can you walk through the world with integrity, more charity, more righteousness? What can you do better?
We can all do things better in the physical world, can't we? Right? How many of us over this past year wasted time? Okay? Screwing around on something that we shouldn't have been. Could have been doing a good deed, right? And I watch my kids with devices, and there's no other word for it. It's not just them. Kids this age, they're addicted to devices, and it's insane because you're not walking through the world. You're putting schmutz on the inside of your hurricane lamp, right? By doing that. So this is all about what have you done in the physical world? Are you giving charity? Are you doing good deeds? When you see someone says, I need money for a sandwich, are you getting a sandwich? But now I have a question. Does that mean you should give charity to every human being? I'm asking, what do you think?
Every human being.
Every human being who asks. Every human being who asks for charity. No. You should not. Why?
What if they ask for money to do bad things?
Okay.
What if you want to put that money?
So the same thing that he just said. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you may have designated people or organizations that you want to.
Okay, but does that mean you can't give to them anyhow? Either give to them of your time, your conversation, or a quarter, or $1. Does that mean you can't do that at least? I'm not saying the only thing that you're commanded to do is 10% to the house of worship. You're not commanded how much you give to anyone else. Okay? So, if a guy sits there and says, I need money for a sandwich, do you give him money for a sandwich?
Buy him a sandwich.
Or buy him a sandwich? Do you do that? How many say yes? Okay. What if the guy says, I need money for a beer?
There's a need and there's a want. But it's his choice.
Say it loudly, Stan.
It's his choice.
If you are giving it with your values, then it's not a gift.
Right.
There's a great story, right? There's this wealthy guy, he's an Ashkenazi Jew, and every year, before Rosh Hashanah, he tosses out envelopes. So he calls all the poor people from the village together. Some treasury of Jewish folklore. So if you didn't go to that book, it's a great story. Tosses out these envelopes, and there might be 1 kopek and there might be 20 rubles, right? Maybe whatever there is. And he does all this every year, and it's kind of catch can. And he does it one year, and when he's done, this big, tall Sephardic guy. Okay, it describes a big, tall, thin Sephardic guy with a beat-up, raggedy coat. He says, "A pox on you, a pox on your family." He says, "What are you doing? Give me a charity." He goes, "No, you make fun of the poor. My envelope was empty." Because he always would put one envelope is empty, for whatever reason. He said, "You make fun of the poor. How dare you?" He says, well, I'm so sorry. Here's 20 rubles. Thank you. Blessingly. So now, the guy's feeling better. The Ashkenazi guy's feeling better. And he goes to the fishmonger. And he sees this beautiful fish. Okay? 20 rubles is what the fishmonger is asking. And the fishmonger says, 20 rubles. And the Ashkenazi Jew saying, well, will you take 17 and a half? And suddenly from behind him, he hears this big voice. Here's 20 rubles. And it's the big Sephardic Jew who has put the money down and takes the fish. Ashkenazi Jew says, what are you doing? He goes, I'm buying a fish. He goes, but you don't have the money to do that. You're a poor man. And I just gave you the 20 rubles and you're a poor man. He goes, a pox on you again. If I'm not to buy the fish when I have the 20 rubles, you are saying I should never eat a fish? Okay, goes off on this. The guy feels guilty. He says, what can I do to make it up to you? You're right, I should have acted that way. And the Sephardic Jew says, well, do you invite people for Shabbos dinner? Well, usually. And tonight? Well, we didn't invite anyone. I will bless you by allowing you to invite me to come to your Shabbat dinner. So now they're walking to the house, and he says, you know, it is not appropriate that I should come as a guest dressed in such rags. Okay. And the wealthy Jew, the wealthy Ashkenazi Jew, who's holding the fish at this point, right? He's carrying schlepping the fish. Says, well, you're right. He goes, I do not want to embarrass you. I do not want to embarrass your wife. I do not want to be treated as someone less than, because then it pox on you again. He goes, wait, here, take my coat. So now the Sephardic Jew is now wearing the wealthy cashmere coat. The wealthy Jew's got the shmata on, carrying the fish as he's going to get home. If someone says, I need $1, I'd like $1 for a beer, who are you to say they are wrong?
No, not to say they're wrong, but if you don't believe in giving.
So your values, so you're putting your values on them.
Yeah.
Okay, is that schmutz, making schmutz inside the lamb? Because you could easily say, you know what? You and I have different values, so here's a quarter, here's $1. It's fine. I'm going to give you something, but I'm not going to give you a lot. I'm not going to buy you your beer. Right? When you forgive someone, you are doing it for yourself, aren't you? Right? How many of us have learned that when we forgive somebody else, it benefits us? When you give charity, who does it benefit? Us. Us, not the beneficiary. Us. Whether it's with your time or your money. Even if it's like, okay, you know what, I don't have money, I'm not comfortable having money, but tell me, why do you want money for a beer? Why is it? Do you eat? What's your name? How'd you get in this situation? Most guys who are homeless, yes, they want money. Yes, they need whatever. But they also need to be recognized as human beings. How many times do we not recognize the Schnorrer as a human being? Okay. I have had conversations with different people over the years who said, Rabbi, you know that there's a third of the people who come to services who legitimately could not pay $20 to come to services on high holidays. And I know that's true. That's true. Okay? They're living hand to mouth. They're living based upon a fixed income, whatever it may be. And then there's a third of people who can and don't. Again, I'll relay a story. It's going to be in the storytelling mood, which is fine. Yes, why not? We got cigars. That couple, Orlando will remember this. A few years ago, guy makes a $180 pledge. I don't ever look at what people give. I just don't. I try to avoid that. Just goes in one ear out the other. I try to avoid the whole thing. Guy gives a $180 pledge. He sends a letter with a $100 check saying he and his family afford that they only wanted to make a $100 pledge, but there was no tab on the card. Do you remember this guy, Orlando? So the name sounded familiar to me, so I double-checked. Executive Vice President at Paramount Studios. Probably making $400 to $600 a year plus benefit. He pledged 180, but then only gave 100, saying please reduce it to 100 from 180 because there was no tab that just said 100. Okay. Family poor. Next year he gave 316. He pledged 316. He gave $316. Yes. I mean, Yeah, I mean, we all understand what it exactly. It's his choice. Whether he gives a dime or $1 million, it's his choice. He's not getting the benefit, if that makes sense. Someone gives their time. We have many people in our community, Orlando, don't we? That what they give is their time. They give their time, their energy, things like that. That time is money, right? We were talking about that. So the point being that I don't have a right to say what you want to spend your money on is not okay. Okay? I have the right to say to someone who is a supporter of Hamas, that has a free Palestine, who comes up to me, not just saying, who comes up and says, free Palestine, will you give money so we can support Hamas?
Only if I could shoot them first.
My obligation is to say, you know what, here's your money, and God will choose what you do with it. And I'm just giving them $1,000, do it. But I can give them a dime, which in some ways is even.
Then you don't get to shoot them; they'll shoot you
I'll
first.
give them an
Then he's going to say to you,
collect in 6 months.
so then the Hamas will say,
Exactly.
a dime? I can't buy one bullet.
That's not. You asked for charity. I gave you some. I gave you right. No, but they would say something like that. It's not. It's true, right? The alcoholic might say, "I can't buy my Jack Daniels with that." The heroin addict would say, "What is this going to do me? I can't buy my dime bag or nickel bag, or whatever they call it." Right? The point is that we have an obligation. Yes.
The problem is, in today's world, if someone asks you for 10 and you give them $1 or even offer to buy them food, they can become very angry and lash out at you.
That's on them.
Well,
And you
me
run.
if I get a black eye. I mean, you have to be aware of
So faith
situation.
over fear, but not foolishness.
We see that a lot when we're traveling on business. And you go out for dinner, and you don't have a refrigerator or something, but you take your food so that you can give it to somebody. And a lot of times, when you give them the food, they will tell you, "I don't want your rotten food. Give me $20 because you just afforded to go out
But
to dinner."
other people say, I already ate today, but I know the person 3 doors down is hungry.
Yep.
It's a very different.
It's a slippery
The point is,
slope.
when we give, we're giving. I believe wholeheartedly that I received miracles in Israel. Because on the way down, I had my pockets stuffed with coins. Because every beggar at every tzedakah box, that walk down to the wall, I was going to give money to. And I ended up having to give bills because I ran out of coins. I had a bunch of coins. Okay. But it was because, and I believe wholeheartedly that some of the miracles I received in Israel were because of that. Greater miracles than I could ever have dreamed of, let alone expected. So the point is, are we walking through the world in a way that makes sense? The fishmonger, or the Sephardic Jew, is right. When's he going to buy that fish? When's he going to have another 20 ruble note to buy the fish? Why shouldn't he have it for Shabbat? It's his money. You gave it to him.
That's right. That's great. And it's right.
He wants to spend it on what
No
he wants.
longer your money, it's his money.
Exactly. And then we get the blessing and the benefit of having, it's like forgiving, right? You get the benefit of forgiving. We get the benefit of doing something good for someone, even if we disagree with them. And in some ways, according to Talmud, especially if we disagree with them, because those are the people you really need to take care of. Okay? Yes.
So, how do we, as Jews, think about the aid that's given to Gaza? Do we consider that charity, where Israel is giving so much aid and the world is still condemning us as not providing? Because isn't it charity?
Let's back up just a minute, okay? And let's just for the sake of time, I'm going to make that statement really easy. Hamas is Amalek. We are commanded to destroy Amalek, not defeat Amalek.
So do we assume, is the assumption then that everybody in Gaza, because of Hamas's strong hand, is Amalek or his relative, or are there Gazans that are not?
Yes.
To both.
No, no. But doesn't matter. So Samuel's the prophet. King Saul is told, command, kill Amalek. Saul does not kill all of the Amalekites. And there's even a midrash that says he saved some of the animals. Okay? And Samuel comes and says, you were told to kill everything. Saul says, but the animals are innocent because you were told to kill everything. Saul loses his kingship as a result. We are meant to destroy Amalek, and sadly and painfully, that also means innocents will die. Then, once their Amalek is gone, yeah, we want to help Gaza.
We're already helping them now.
Right, that's my point. We're already Israel's helping.
You're asking from a theological point? We shouldn't be.
That was my question.
From a theological point, we shouldn't be. But that doesn't take my personal responsibility off of me. Okay? It does as a nation, it does as a group. But my responsibility is if Sinwar shows up and says, I'd like some charity, please. My responsibility is I'm going to give you some charity. I may give you something else afterwards because you're Amalek. But when someone asks, you give. It's a different way of looking at the world. But think about how much cleaner our pathway is as a result. I feel like I'm talking to you. My back is talking to you, so I apologize. I feel like I keep going like this, and my back doesn't stretch that way anymore. So, right? So, it's. I didn't say it's easy, but can we do things?
Because in many cases, we're providing them with charity that they're using to turn into money, to turn into bullets that kill us.
I've already said, theologically, we shouldn't have given them one drop of aid. And historically, no one has ever given aid to an enemy that wants you dead. Agreed. So that's not the question. Okay?
The intention in Gaza, though, is to give it to the ones who are good people that need it. But then you have the enemy on the other side.
It's Amalek.
But they're all Amalek.
It's Amalek. Even if they're innocent theologically, it's part of Amalek. They have the opportunity.
What's the definition of innocent bystander?
The trouble is they can't fight against the arms.
They're innocent.
The animals were innocent, weren't they?
If they could.
Saul didn't kill the animals. Were the animals innocent?
Huh?
The animals were innocent, right?
Yeah.
Saul didn't kill them. He was removed from kingship as a result. I didn't say it's easy. None of this is easy, but it's not supposed to be. You may have to look and say, you know what? This year I gave to causes I shouldn't have given to. You may look and say, I gave to causes to this organization, but then I realized that this organization, 90% of the money doesn't end up in the hands, and this is maybe a better example than Gaza. 90% of the money doesn't end up in the hands of the cause. It ends up in the organization. It doesn't matter which one, but there's a Jewish nonprofit. I'm not going to say which one. Where, as of a number of years ago, it's a different CEO, but the CEO was making $2 million plus expenses as the CEO of a nonprofit. Now, Mrs. Goldberg, who gave $18 to this Jewish organization, wasn't giving it to the Schmendrick, who's making $2 million. That's not what she was giving it for, was it? So it's also our responsibility if we're looking at an organization. Where's the money going to? One of the reasons I really support B'nai Zion Hospital is because I know every dollar, 100 pennies of that dollar go to the hospital. I don't know how they spend it, but I know every point does go to the hospital. So where does it go? Do we take, how many people, look, there's a synagogue and they do programming during high holidays. They're all year, but they do programming during high holidays. And the night before Kol Nidre night, they have an annual Cleanse Your Soul at a private beach in the Pacific, in Malibu, with a co-ed clothing optional mikvah. Now look, you want to have an orgy? God bless you. Go have an orgy. I don't really care. But don't do it under the auspices of the town. They got a 5-year, 6-figure-a-year grant from the Jewish Federation, from the Jewish Foundation. Okay? Now, I'm pretty sure that most of the people who have donated to the foundation, who are wealthier people, don't know that their money went to having an orgy. They're adding a new program, by the way, this year. They're going and having a co-ed Korean spa day. Okay. I'm pretty sure they didn't know. But whose responsibility is if you're giving to an organization? Do you know where the money goes? Okay.
You would join.
He wants to be an associate member.
We offer a private one, Stan. Right. So,
membership?
no, but you see my point. I mean, it's. I mean, look, you want to go to an orgy, God bless you, but this should be under a temple. Should be getting a grant from a Jewish organization, and do the people who are giving money. So it's our responsibility to know what we're giving. When someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, you know what, sir? I need some money? Can you?" I'm going to give him something. That's different than if an organization calls me and says, Rabbi, we'd like you to donate $100 to our organization. I want to know about the organization before I give it. Right? I want to know if it's going to feed homeless, how much of it's actually going to feed the homeless, and how much is going to pay the executive director's salary of $300,000 a year. Right?
There's a material difference in the situation of somebody coming to you asking for versus your elective choice of where to give your money.
You are not obligated to give without being asked. You may choose to do that, but you're obligated to give when you're asked. That's, again, individuals, not organizations. The one exception being the house of worship. Okay. All right, let's continue. Who wants to read the Vav? Did we finish the bottom A? Did we finish all the hay? We did, right? Okay. Who wants to read Vav? Somebody on this side. It's this side's turn. Go, Vav.
The world of Yetzirah, forming how we feel emotionally, south, our torso, and the Pesuki de Zimura.
Besukkah de Zimra is the part of the service that's the Psalms of Praise. Okay.
Psalms and blessings of praise, part of the liturgical service. How do you act emotionally with yourself and with others? Someone wants to find emotion as E in motion, energy in motion. Like the Vav, our feelings connect our whole beings and form how we interact with the world. They, like the Vav, are the connection and the conjunction.
Vav is the letter that means in Hebrew and. So if I want to say Sefer and the book, or sorry, if I want to say table and the book, I would say Shulchan the HaSefer. Go ahead.
Do your feelings control you with your ability to manage them? Do you try to subdue or control your feelings, as ludicrous as trying to control having diarrhea, according to R. David Zeller, Byton, and others based on Jung? Do you put them in a box and try to hide the box away, and then they come out in shadow actions? What are the most important feelings for you? How do you express your feelings with others and with God? Do you have hefruta or kahal within
friends or community
with which to safely express those feelings, safely let the energy be in motion? Is your life, when you are truly honest, all too often based in fear, which is the fastest way to darken the lamp's glass? Or, to quote Rabbi Yoda, fear leads to hate, hate leads to anger, anger leads to suffering.
So how do you express your emotions? Do you show up with everybody as the best of your ability? And how can you do it better? So I make a good portion of my living officiating funerals. Okay? Where I get a call from a cemetery, they say, Rabbi, we think you'd be a good person for this family. Will you come help them? And so I do, and I get a check for doing it. Okay. And one of the things I was worried about very early in my career was that I would get numb to death. And so I committed to myself I would never do that. I want to show up with everyone in their pain as much as I can. And so as I've gotten older, it's actually harder because I feel their pain more and differently. The more that I try to be vulnerable with them. I did a funeral earlier today of a man who was married 45 years, no children. The man is devastated. And I talked to him on the phone first, and then I saw him today. And afterwards, he was so grateful that I was willing to be there, not just say, "Oh, we're going to get through this," but to actually be there emotionally. How empathetic are you? How compassionate? When could you have been more empathetic? When could you have been more? When could we be more compassionate? When could we put our feelings more on the line? I'm a rabbinic student. I know I'm getting old because I tell stories that happened in my own life. So I'm really getting old. I'm a rabbinic student, 4th or 5th rabbinic student. You're supposed to go lead high holiday services. So I'm leading services at the University of Central Florida. And I speak to a friend of mine named Jeremy, who's a dear friend for many, many years before that as well. And I said, "Jeremy, I'm really concerned." He goes, "What?" I said, "I cry easily." Now, you guys know that. Okay, I cry easily. It's not out of sadness necessarily. It's just an overwhelming of emotions. Except the Cats in the Cradle, which is why I go behind it. That's, yeah. That was the last song I ever played for my dad before he died. So, yeah. It's like, you know what, I go behind because that's just going to be too much. And I said, "Jeremy, I'm really concerned that I don't want to curb my feelings of showing up. But I am concerned that if I show my feelings, it's going to turn people in a way that they're not going to want to be there." And he said, great words. He said, "Don't ever cut that off, because when you show your feelings, it allows other people to have the permission to show theirs." So whether it works or doesn't work, I made a commitment not to cut them off. Where do we cut off our feelings? Where do we not show what's really important? Right? How many of you have kids who are grown? How many remember when they were teenagers? How many of you got angry at the teenagers? How many of you got frustrated at the teenagers? How many of you at times wanted to say, "I love you, but I want to throw you through this wall"? Right? I got great kids. When those times happen, are we really getting to the depth of our feelings? Because our feelings aren't anger. Our feelings are sad that someone we love so much is acting in this way, hurting themselves, hurting others. Isn't that really the truth? Do we show the sadness? Do we show the honesty? Do we really make ourselves vulnerable? That's the Bob. Do we show up when someone says, "I need you"? When someone says, "Can we talk?" Do we show up? And I don't mean just showing up. I mean being there emotionally. Now, there are energetic vampires. There are emotional vampires. So we also know that there are times that we need to have boundaries too, right? So when did you give too much? When did you not give enough? When were we not empathetic enough or compassionate enough in our daily life? That's the ball. Does that make sense? All right, who wants to read about the top pay on page 5? I think, yes. Wants to read. It's on this side now. Top A. Top A. Okay, turn and face the camera so they can hear you too.
Top A, the world of Briat, creating the arms. East, how we give to the world ourselves and God, and the Shema and its blessing section of the liturgical service. This is the spiritual world. Since all our giving ultimately comes from a spiritual need and recognition of our responsibility to give as human beings. It is also mirrored in how we receive.
Right? It's like the arms, right? Remember the Hayes are arms. So how do you give? How do you receive? It's both. You can't do one without the other.
Do you take or do you receive? Do you give when asked, verbally as well as non-verbally? When have you not given? When have you taken? How have you nurtured your spirit throughout the year so that you can give fully? And how have
Pause
you...
it for a second. Simple. Right. There's a reason that when I'm saying where it also corresponds to according to Sefer Yetzirah, the part of the service, the direction, etc. If you want to be more in touch with spirituality, the Shema and the Ve'ahavta are really great, easy prayers to do, aren't they? To really focus on God and I are one. How do I give and receive? There's all that is in the world between. Stan, can I borrow your lighter, please? Thank you. There's all that is between that and taking his lighter. That's a nice lighter.
If it's missing, you know where it went.
So, right?
I did give it.
There's all the difference, right? Do we receive the kabel or do we take? Do we allow ourselves to realize that everything comes from God? Please continue.
and how your spirit throughout them to and how have you allowed your spirit to fester and darken by not nurturing the real values of life? Is giving to others more important than your work, less important, or a manifestation of your work in the world? Do you have real conversations about spirituality with others, with yourself, with God? Do you even talk with God and nurture your spirit? Robert Bly taught that if wearing a special shade of red nurtures your soul, then you should wear it no matter what anyone says or how silly it may look. Do you nurture your spirit's needs? How can you do it? When and where have you violated what your spirit knows is right? By acting inappropriately, hurting others or yourself, violating what your soul knows best. Most addiction recovery programs are based in a form of spirituality because, as Milidomus Sum has said, addiction is a spiritual energy that needs to be released without the context, elders, or cultural container within which it is released.
Isn't that a great line from Alabama about what addiction is? Isn't that, God rest his soul, he died a few years ago. Go ahead, please continue. I'm sorry.
What have you been addicted to? And how can you let go and heal that addiction? Do you have a regular spiritual practice? And or do you need to add that spiritual and or do it more often?
So let me ask a question. How many of you like to add a little bit of spirituality to your life? Easily. And I'm going to join you in other words from Talmud. And every conversation with a friend with words of spirituality. Every conversation, if you just make it a focus that every conversation you have with a friend, someone, that you end it with something about Torah, about God, whatever, you will find your whole life changes. Okay? Just a reality. It's a simple process, isn't it? Little tiny thing, but in the book of Job it says water wears away stone. That little thing of just saying something as you're ending your conversation, you know, it's you know, I gotta tell you something, I love the hat. I've heard only good things about Costa Rica, and the flowers just make me think how beautiful God has created this world.
Oh, I like that.
Doesn't matter what it is, does it? You know, it doesn't matter, does it? It matters that, and I do like the hat. It does remind me of it. And I hear great things about Costa Rica too. So, right? So if you end every conversation you have with someone before saying goodbye, you make sure you interject just a little word. Even if at the end of the conversation it is, God bless you. Even if it's, may you receive everything good in life this year. Right? Even if it's just that little, you do that on every conversation. I guarantee you a year from now, you will not find your hurricane lamp so dirty. Guaranteed. Just by a little tiny thing. And that's pretty easy, isn't it? If we focus on it. Right? I've taught my kids, because I learned this from my father. You end every conversation, every time you leave, I love you. Right? It's a conscious, they don't do it. Daddy gets very irritated. Okay? So I remind them the one time I didn't say that to my father, which is the night he died.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I had just come back from Russia. He was having heart surgery. I'd done the research. He should have been fine. I was 27 and stupid, although that's redundant. And I was exhausted. He was scared, and so I'll see you tomorrow. I've never made that mistake twice. Okay? That's what we need to do. Whatever it is, we need to, God bless you. It's a beautiful blue. It reminds me of the beauty of the ocean that God creates. What does it say?
Guns N' Roses.
I was going to say, I thought it said Guns N' Roses, but have you seen the movie Guns N' Moses yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Tomorrow night's the last night.
Yeah, it's a natural release. I really want to recommend Guns N' Moses to everyone.
Yeah.
A friend of the temple, a friend of mine, Sal Litvak, directed it. Yeah, it's an okay movie. But the point is that you should see it anyhow. I think it's, yeah. and it's theaters and theaters, yeah, around.
Very few.
Valley.
And it's,
Galleria.
and it's well worth it. I mean, isn't it? It's
Oh yes,
Stan.
it's a really
Yeah,
good
I like
movie.
it.
It's about a rabbi who there's an attack on his community, and so he gets trained in firearms.
But also, but don't you think that when, I don't know, it sounds like a joke, I'm going to say, but I'm trying to be serious here. When Moses is writing down the Torah, and then he says, wait a minute, you're going to give the Arabs all the oil and you're going to take away what from the Jews? You know, I mean, this is the issue when you're converted to Judaism, and it just seems there's such a, I don't know, sometimes I just feel there's such a demand.
There's a beautiful statement from Islam.
Mm-hmm.
There are some beautiful statements from
Yeah,
Islam.
there is.
One of which is that God gave us the water for our bodies. God gave it to nourish our bodies. God gave us the desert to nourish our souls. We haven't relied on oil in Israel, have we?
No, that's,
But we've created, as a result, we've created watermelons and mangoes and strawberries being grown in the middle of the desert. If California decided to have the humility to say, Israel, help us with our water problem, we would have no water shortage in the state ever. Ever. It's like they desalinate everything. Why are we such idiots? Okay?
yes, I
So
agree.
the
I
desert
agree.
helped us to okay,
You
so
find where I'm coming from, exactly.
okay.
Yes.
So all right. So are we saying God bless you? Are we saying spiritual things? Are we saying that as part of our life? Are we living that? Are we looking and saying, boy, that's a nice grapevine? Or are we saying, boy, what a beautiful gift from God? Or there's a story about one of the Hasidic rabbis, I forget which one, 19th century. And one of his Chassids comes up to him and he says, Rabbi, I love you. I have the greatest respect for you. But I noticed that every time a hot-looking girl walks by, you're going like this. And I don't understand. Because you're such a holy man, you love your wife so much. He says, you know what? You go to shul and you think about hot-looking girls, and maybe it's different. Because I see the hot-looking girl and I say, Baruch Hashem, God, how could you create something so beautiful? Which is more spiritual?
The second one, yeah, I like that one.
That's
It's
a good
beautiful. Yeah.
Although some of you know the story, I was at a Persian wedding, and Allison's next to me. This is years ago. We're walking down. How many of you have been to a Persian wedding? Okay. So there are many girls who want to get married. And so they advertise. It's the only way I can phrase it. And this girl's walking towards us, and I am not going to turn my head no matter what. She's gorgeous. In high heels, long hair, a white micro mini dress.
Wait. Can I interrupt you for a second? You weren't going to look, but you can describe her to the
I can just, I don't know how you do that.
No, Rabbi, I'm sorry. I just don't get that.
Let me phrase that. I'm not going to look the way that I wanted to look. How's that? Okay? Because you're right. So she's what? And this is a lace micro mini dress, and she is wearing nothing underneath, and yes, I'm sure. Okay? And I am not going to turn my head because no one wants to see the rabbi going like this. Right? Allison goes, oh my God. Okay. The rabbi who says that, Baruch Hashem, the guy who's in service saying, boy, that girl looks good over there in the corner. Which is more appropriate?
I love this.
Okay.
Exactly.
So you're right. I did look. I wasn't. The right statement is I wasn't going to turn my head to keep looking.
I'm sorry, Rabbi.
So, no, you're right. You're right. No, I can tell you.
You were great.
I can't. But you know what? I don't know what her face looked like. But it was so funny because Allison, like, she couldn't stop. You know, guys know my wife. She couldn't stop looking. It was hysterical. So the idea of making everything into spirituality, right? I light a cigar. I say a bracha. How many of you do that? Baruch atah Adonai Olam, blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, Shakol niheh b'nivro, from whom all things are created. Okay? Every time that you may see me, I'll say very softly to myself. Are we aware of God in our life? Okay, who wants to read about the Yud? Whose side? Which side are we on? This side. Yud. Shift that. Whoever ends up. Yud. Anybody? Okay. We got lots of people on both sides. Who wants to say Yud on any side?
The Yud. The world of
Absolute.
absolute nation. The mind. North. How and what we think and think about. The Amidah of the religion service. This is also tied to humanity for arrogance, and true humanity humility comes from the Yud. What do we think about? How does your mind work? Do you realize your action and light problems?
Who's got more light?
Talmud-
Who's got more light?
Talmud
Go. Go ahead. Go on, Randy. Go.
Do you rationalize
Do
your
you light up
action?
light? Okay. Wait, is that okay?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got.
Go.
Okay.
I want to.
Do you rationalize your actions?
No, you get the
Talmud teaches, and it is quoted. Talmud teaches, and it is quoted in the traditional Yom Kippur liturgy of how it may be difficult to do specific sin the first time, but it becomes easier the second, even easier the third, and eventually it is not longer recognized as sin at all because of how our mind rationalized. Do
True,
you
isn't
worry?
it?
Yep.
Right? The first is a married couple, right? The guy says, well, the flirting is no big deal. Well, she just gave me a kiss on the cheek. What's the big deal? Well, I kissed her on the lips. What's the big deal? I'm married and I love my wife. So where does it stop?
Slippery
Right.
slope.
It's a very slippery slope.
Mhm.
Rabbi Nachman says that the only thing to worry about is that you worry. Do you expend your mental energy and time on things that really don't matter at the end of the day? Physical stuff, prestige, expensive toys. Or do you think about how to make the world a better place, more infused with God's light? Do you think about what is wrong with the world or how you can personally change to make it better? An angel only has one leg because they only think about their tikkun olam, ha'olam, their piece of repairing the world, which is why we say the Amidah with our feet together as if they are one leg.
When you do the immediate, you stand like this traditionally. The idea being that you're not praying it, it's praying you, so that you're hearing what is your real purpose, and so you can be like,
How often and where have you forgotten your real purpose in life? How you and only you can make the world a better place. Where is your mind? Where your thoughts go, the rest of you follows. How often and where have they led you away from the highest purpose, from appreciating the magnificent gift of life, and instead led you to darken the lens.
so our mind. Boy, does it get in our way, doesn't it?
Yes.
How many of you this past year have worried at least 1 hour a week? Okay. How many of you at least worried 1 hour a day?
No, yeah.
Be honest.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hundreds of hours of worrying. Can anyone tell me what good the worrying ever did?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Not a thing.
That's why you don't do it, right?
Right.
Creates stress.
Not a thing.
Nothing. Great stress, exactly.
Exactly.
Nothing good. Yogi Bhajan Khalsa, who's the man who brought Kundalini yoga to this country, Yogi Bhajan, I think it was Yogi Bhajan, but someone in his tradition, had a great saying. Worry, it might have been one of the other gurus, had a great saying. Worrying is praying for what you don't want. How many of you spent more hours this past week worrying than you did in prayer?
I would say, yeah, I have.
How many of you have spent more hours worrying when you could have been acting instead? And worrying never did anything for anybody, did it?
Nope.
Never. Never. I was talking with someone, their husband was diagnosed, they found some blood clots in his leg. Okay? He's fine. She's a rat. We talked to her. What are you worried about? Well, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. So is your worry going to make it better or going to make it easier? It's going to help or hurt? What are you worrying for? Right? Where's our mind's attention? Are we thinking about what we need to be thinking about? We're taught that a man should not walk behind his wife. Okay, that is in the Talmud. It does not mean a woman should walk behind the man. That's not what it says. It specifically says a man should not walk behind his wife. And then it says why. Because he'll be thinking about her other things than he should be thinking about. He'll be thinking about her tofus. Yeah, it doesn't say tofus, but this. Right? And it is supposed to think about other things. He'll be distracted. Think about your tofus when you should be thinking about your wife's tofus. Don't think about your wife's tofus when you shouldn't be thinking about it. Okay, right? Alan's got this challenge all the time. This is why he's always in front of me. Right? So, where's our mind? Where's our concentration? And then we get in shul, or we're doing our personal prayers, and we're saying the words, but we're thinking about the traffic jam on the 101. We're thinking, am I going to make lunch? Am I going to do this? Right? Has it ever helped?
No, but he's a mind reader. You're reading my mind. Stop.
Don't make me do my Yoda impersonation. Right? Right? But that's true, isn't it? How often you guys ever worry? You guys ever worry? Tell me when it helped.
I like to say worrying. When you worry twice. Once before the thing happens, and then once it actually happens.
Yes.
Because once it actually happens, you deal with it.
The most important thing.
Say it loudly. Say it loudly.
90% of the time, it never occurs in reality what you're thinking. So
Worrying is projecting into the future based upon past thoughts. It's not being present. Right? Our mind is not present, and we need to have it present, but that means it needs to be empty, which is what the goal of the Amidah is, to make ourselves fully empty. Okay? Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes, please.
I probably did my most worrying when my kids were young. And my kids, and I have grandchildren, but my kids mostly, when they were growing up, I believe that God gave me the best gift I could ever have, my son and my daughter. And I felt that's God. I was worried that I was doing the right thing and making sure that they were staying protected, because that's God's gift. That was God's biggest gift to me in life.
I can relate. I got teenagers. I thought I had dealt with all my fears and worries. Then my boys were born.
So you know what I'm talking about.
That's the beginning. That's the beginning.
You're right.
That
was easier at 10 than at 16.
Period. That was right.
Right? Can we? But the Wagmans assure me that Gom Zeh, this too shall pass.
When you get grandkids, you worry about them.
It'll be fabulous again. It's right. So, but it's true, right? The worrying doesn't help. So you know, it's a really interesting stat. As many of you know, Alice and I got married. We are married. So I'm wondering, and we were a little older, and so we went to an IVF doctor who was a friend, and said, look, if you guys were 25, I'd say keep doing what you're doing. You're not, so you should do IVF. You know, when you're trying to get pregnant and you're not, you're worried you're not going to. And you're worried that everyone else is getting pregnant. What's wrong with you? All these different things. First time it didn't work. Second time she was scared. Third time, thank God, we got the boys. I'm so grateful. But do you know what is the truth? What the doctor said? Make sure if you don't want to have more.
That prevents you from getting pregnant.
Well, he said make sure that you're careful when you guys make love from now on, because it is common once the worrying stops, and the person finally gets pregnant after having done IVF, boom, they get pregnant again, because their stress level is down.
Or you adopt. Sometimes they get adopt, and then all of a sudden, you have more.
Because the stress is released. Worrying never helped anybody. Where's our mind? Is it worrying, or is it saying, you know what, I'm in the moment? My moment is right now with the liturgy. I want to let every word go through me. I just don't want to read the words. I want to I don't want to go through me. If I get stuck on a certain phrase, I want to let that phrase really move through me and see where it hits me. To be present, to say, I am here. Remember that throughout our teachings, God asks Adam, Abraham, Jacob, Zechariah, Hezekiah, all these different people, Ayacha, where do you stand? And they respond, Hineni, I am present. I am here. When we're not present, when our minds are elsewhere, are we really letting our lamp shine? Or are we dousing our lamp and putting schmutz? And then eventually you get so used to the worrying, you don't even realize you're worrying anymore. Right? It's just in second nature. It becomes habit. Think about how many hours you've wasted in your life. Always. Right? Okay. Who wants to continue reading? Page 7 with the Kutz of the Yud. Somebody. I think we're on this side. We can go.
I will. The Kutz, it looks like the other word. Kutz of the Yud. Kutz of the Yud. Corresponding to the aurora?
The aura or halo.
Or halo around you. The place on your head where your Yamaka is kept to remind you of your connection with God, the center of the wheel, creative energy, including creativity manifested as sexuality, and the Torah service in our literature. Where have you squandered your creative forces? Where have you used them appropriately? In our society, this is often manifested in sexuality. Where have you wasted your sexual energy? This is the righteous foundation of the world. Sefer Bahar 1:180. Where have you squandered it so that it created more darkness and soot as opposed to light? How much light, energy, and even money have you wasted on porn, strippers, magazines, inappropriate? I haven't done any of this. Flirting, sexuality. That was doesn't mean anyway. You don't have
We'll just keep moving on. Go ahead.
That was not based on true love. Where have you cheated the world yourself and God by not utilizing your creative gifts and talent to the fullest extent to make the world a place more filled with light? Have you used those creative or sexual gifts, talents to hurt yourself or others rather than to you? Oh, I just wrote it down.
You got all these creative talents. Okay? You can play an instrument, you can sing, you can dance. You can paint. But we don't do it. We're cheating ourselves, we're cheating God, we're cheating everybody else, we're cheating life. That doesn't mean you need to go perform. But I remember once seeing the cellist Piatigorsky give a lecture. I don't know if you guys, how many of you remember Piatigorsky? At the time, he was the world's greatest cellist when Haydn was the world's greatest violinist. And he spoke at Wilshire Boulevard Temple, and he said, I practice every day, because at that level you need to practice every day. Right? So 6 days a week, I practice for myself. On Shabbat, I play for God. How many of you like to sing? Whether you think you're a good singer or not is inconsequential. How many of you like to sing? Okay? How many of you don't raise your hands, but if you like to sing, but maybe you don't think you have such a great voice? Okay?
I know. I couldn't carry a tune if it had a handle.
So, I could sit with you at a piano and show you're wrong because music is only relationship. But he's sneezing on the truth, so I'm not sure which to believe. So, but then why not go out when you're in the Caribbean and sing a new song of Harvey to God?
Because I'd kill all the fish in the ocean.
No, you wouldn't kill anything. For all you know, you might be able to walk on the ocean. Right? If you like to dance, to dance. If you like to paint, to paint. We all admire those guys, right? Who spend the time and they go in their house and they got 30 paintings. What do you do with 30 paintings? I like to paint. How many of you guys know someone like that? Right? They paint or they play music or they dance or what do you do? There's a wonderful woman. Her name's Cheryl. She's a member of our community. I love Cheryl. Look at Cheryl. Cheryl's fabulous. And a couple of years ago, Cheryl just started. Her kids are grown now. Cheryl decided to start learning tango and ballroom dancing. How many think that's cool? Then why aren't you doing it? So you go like this, right?
Become an angel.
The point is, it doesn't
You just have
matter.
one.
If you love to dance, then dance. If you love to paint. It doesn't matter if it's horrible. If it's horrible, you don't want to show it to anyone. Keep it in the closet. You're not doing it for that. You're doing it for as an expression of your own creativity. Or write. Make up stories. Write nonfiction. Write a journal. If you need a job for writing, I'm more than happy to allow people who would like to fill in to do the different research on the different sites I do every night at 2 o'clock in the morning. And you can write the darn emails. Right? That's creative energy. And we squander it a lot, don't we? And often in our culture, that's manifested as sexual energy, especially if you're younger. Okay, especially if you're younger. That becomes manifest as creative. The creative energy becomes manifest as a Kundalini energy, as a sexual energy. Okay, who wants to continue reading? I'll do this one line, but the act of repentance, the act of prayer, and the act of giving charity, Tshuva, Tefillah, Tzedakah, can lessen the severity of the decree. It doesn't mean it won't happen, it just means it won't be painful. We're asking. Who wants to continue reading after that? We're on the bottom of page number 7. Who wants to read? Go, loudly.
In each and all of these directions, this prayer illustrates a clear process of how to clean the darkness inside the lantern. In each area, do true acts of repentance. Give charity of your time and money to make up for the mistakes you made, and pray truly with and to God.
So in other words, each of these aspects you take into accounting, and then how do you fix it? Tshuva, preparation, tefillah, prayer, tzedakah, charity. In each of these places, you found an imbalance in the yud, the hey, the vav, the hey, or the pitch, the yud. Continue, please.
To put it in the 12-step language, as I understand it, make amends with actions, not just words. Give charity, including being the sponsor, and pray, and surrender to God, asking with real honesty and clarity for divine help, guidance, and assistance. In the same way that you do a written accounting or balancing of your checkbook, create a worksheet in each area. Put down in writing who and how you have hurt others. Write down what must be done by you, not them, in order to make amends.
So I tell this story every year. I'm in my 20s. I was single. I'm in my 20s. Gone out with a girl. We've broken up, I don't know, sometime November, December. And now it's high holiday time. And I have not spoken, let me be clear. I broke up and I did not have a lot of integrity the way I did it. I know none of you men can relate to that. I'm sure all of you in your 20s were much holier than I was. You're smart enough to get married younger. Shmendrik, what do you want? Okay, so now it's this time of year, and I do Heshbon and Nefesh, and I'm going, oh shoot, I have to reach out to her. So I keep calling, and finally I get hold of her, and I apologize, and I say I'm sorry, and I know I can make recompense on, but however I can make tshuva, I want to. What she said to me effectively meant there's no way you can make tshuva. You're blanketing. Well, she was right. I wasn't blanketing. Okay, let's be honest. She was right. But it was so painful because I realized, okay, I got to do this. So that's how you make tshuva. The year after my father died, I made tshuva by saying, I will never leave my family without saying I love you again. And I never have. Right? What can you do? That was in one case something I did that was wrong. In another case, I didn't do something that would have been right. How do you do these things? How do you make your tshuva? Please continue.
Write down what must be done by you, not them, in order to make amends. Write down how you will give righteously. The root of the Hebrew word tzedakah, meaning charity.
The root of the word tzedakah is tzedek, which means justice. It's also related to the word tzaddik, which means a perfectly righteous human being.
In that specific area to make
Lovely,
up
lovely, lovely.
for what you have done. Write down how you will have a dialogue with God and really listen to God. The watchword of the Jewish faith is Shema, meaning listen, in order to fix what you have darkened and to be guided to do better.
Shana Tova to come, and we all have a sweet and good year. May we all be inscribed for blessings of health, of sustenance, and joy in the book of life. So, hopefully that gives a model, a methodology to do an accounting. Okay? Now that you got it, the question I have is, are you going to use it? And that's only a question you can
try.
It's up to each person. Right? And it is always more efficient to write things down, isn't it? Fine till that's teenagers. So it's always a more efficient thing to do, but to have dialogue with someone. It's great if it's someone that you love and trust to do this with them, to say, you know what, I think I have done this. I do see where I'm missing my accounting. Which Stan would say, yes, Schmendrick, you're missing here. Right? Someone you trust is going to be an honest reflection. But it's an important part of preparing. We could do it certainly every, not high holidays, but we could also do it every new month. It's a new month, right? A new cycle. We could do it every new week. And we could do it every new morning. And if you clean your glass all the time, it doesn't get dirty as quickly or as often, does it? So that's kind of where we are. We have no services until Rosh Hashanah, right? Is that correct? Okay. And then we have Rosh Hashanah. And then we are building on that Sunday after Rosh Hashanah. I'm guessing we're building the framework of the Sukkah.
Friday.
On Friday, not on Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay, you say so. Whatever Orlando says, I do. And then we will we'll put the skach on after Yom Kippur. We'll get the palm fronds, we'll put them on. And we have Sukkahs all week, and the Simchat Torah, and then nap time. Okay. It's the only month without a Jewish holiday except for Shabbat. The only month that doesn't have a Jewish holiday except for Shabbat is the month after Sukkot. Okay. And most rabbis are foolish. They take their vacation during the summertime. Wiser rabbis realize that's a bad idea because you're supposed to be prepping for the holidays. So they take the vacation after Simchat Torah. That makes more sense. So I hope was this helpful to people. It's a worthwhile system, but it's up to each of us to use how we choose. So thank you. I hope this was good. I will see all of you whenever, but certainly Bezrat Hashem on Rosh Hashanah, which is coming up. I should start thinking about my sermons. That's what I do.